Okay, hello there, traders. Welcome back to the TOGS Trading Podcast. We're up to TOGS 21 now, and our basically our sort of theme for today is all about the importance of taking a break, of managing yourself, and it kind of fits in because last week we had a bit of a break from the podcast. We had things going on, both the good, the bad, and the ugly of that. But it's a good theme for us today about really the importance of taking breaks, especially as we go into the summer months. So as always, all right, I'm joined here by my friend Big Ian in Dublin and stuff. So looking good, Billy Ray. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. All right. Can't complain really too much at the moment. Could do with a couple of more hours sleep, but I get over that.
Yeah. My sleep's not big this week as well, but that's us, isn't it? That kind of links into conversation about before about the importance of sleep, and it's been frustrating because actually I thought we'd have like a quiet Monday, Tuesday, all right, trading wise and stuff. But actually, the price action for me, for my style, on both FX and indices in the afternoon, has been lovely. Has been absolutely lovely the last couple of days and stuff, and what have you. And so I've done a bit, I've engaged a bit, but I don't think I've engaged as hard or as deep as I would have if I had a couple of good sleep. So but there you go.
Yeah, no, it's very true because Monday wasn't. Well, I didn't have great night's sleep on Sunday night, and Monday. I worked for a while. I did, I don't know, 10 points, something like that, and then just quit for the day. And then yesterday was quite good. But a great learning day yesterday. Now, actually, I learned a lot I was talking to other traders, and I learned a lot from how they do things, which I think was very interesting. So, yeah.
And so you've been talking about, if I remember rightly from the conversation yesterday, you've been talking about trading gaps, which things that helped my FX trades yesterday was, of course, the great gaps that we saw on the euro this weekend. Okay, the euro against all the major pairs, shenanigans of the elections over the weekend and stuff. So, it's interesting. Just as an aside here, there used to be a time like 10 odd years ago and stuff where I would actively look to trade like the Sunday night gaps on the FX markets. It was actually really good, really solid trading tactic, and and it worked really quite well. It's quite simple. You just be there prepped for like what is Monday morning Pacific time open, Sunday night here. Basically just there, and I'd probably work between about 10 in the evening till about 1 in the morning, and just do a couple of gap trades, and you'd start the week very nicely. But of course, that's pretty much all gone, really. However, this weekend there was those gaps, but it was all driven by the political shenanigans more so than just being a natural start of the week phenomenon.
Yeah, it's just that they have their own probability, basically. So it's a point in the market that you can have a reasonable idea that price is going to go to touch that at least once in the day. So, if you're above it, that there's a probability that it's going to come down to touch it. If you're below it, that it's going to come up to touch it. So, to have anything that helps you with direction. And a lot of the time you see that happening in the first half an hour of the market. So you get 2-3 of them a week by the looks of it. I was just doing some back testing. I mean, I looked at gaps when I started off first, because trading gaps was actually really quite common when I started off trading first. It was a thing that people did. And, gaps were useful for a huge amount of things, like for like 90% of gaps, when you were swing trading, 90% of gaps were closed in a year. They provided a good place for anchoring for Fibonacci. Beneath the gap or above the gap, there was usually one of those two anchors were being used with swing trades. And once you found out the anchor, when I was trading fibs with swing trading, once you found out what the anchor was, then you sort of had the next 2 months was effectively mapped out for you, because you were still trading that, you still had the low, and then you were just having the high, and then you were trading the bits in between, like basically the movements in between, which was corresponding with your fib. So I found them, like I just happened to be talking to somebody during the week who does it quite a lot, and I did an actual gap trade yesterday, and that went actually okay. Because they're not exactly rocket science. It's just something I had sort of used it years ago. I kind of picked it up, looked at it for a while, played with it for a while 10 years ago, and then put it down and never looked at it again, and then just picked it up basically during the week because I was talking to somebody else who does it. And thought that this is a useful tool. And then I was talking as well some of the other things, like, because it's always good to talk to other professional traders, because you always get some sort of inspiration from talking to them, you know, how they use, because they all have the same tools, like, and some of the ways that they were using the tools made sense for me, that were different. And also as well, coming into the summer, just because, which is wouldn't be taking the biggest of the breaks of the year. Coming into the summer, I have a childcare issue. So I'm going to have a lot of my time is going to be condensed. And unfortunately, the best times of the day are the pick up and delivery of my son times. So so that's not going to, so I've been looking at some way to try and mitigate that during the summer, which basically means doing longer trades, maybe slightly more swing trading, or you know, so the intraday swing, like where basically you're holding onto it for the whole day. You're going in at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're exiting at 7 o'clock in the evening or 9 o'clock in the evening, whatever. So yeah, see how we get on with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It kind of like it is an element of what we're talking about today in terms of firstly sort of kind of taking breaks, but then also that kind of leads into managing yourself through these particular summer months that we're heading into. Although I don't know what the weather's like there, but the weather's been so woeful. Most of my summer's going to be spent keeping warm and stuff. I've got like a bloody cardigan on here. I'm in the middle of June and stuff. What's going on? But anyway, that's a different story for a different day. So yeah, listen. Taking breaks from trading. All right. What are your thoughts about those, Ian? What do you what do you suggest and what do you do yourself?
Well, the first thing is you have to split it in two. There's the taking multiple days off for whatever reason, and then there's the taking time off, because I work from home, and you know, I'm here most of the time, and so consequently, it's very difficult to actually take time off. You know, you have to separate yourself from the business, because, and that basically means that you have to, and especially when you're starting off first, it's actually really difficult to separate yourself out from the business and take enough time off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you find yourself at 4 o'clock in the morning or something looking at charts going, I had this mighty piece of inspiration and now I need to look at this right now, this minute. So it's quite difficult to, so you need to know that there are two different types of breaks that you need to do. You need to take multiple day breaks, and you need to take just breaks in the day. And especially as a day trader, like, you know, or scalper, because you work quite intently and you have basically about 40 minutes of, you can really concentrate properly for about 40 minutes. And after that, then you start to endanger yourself a little bit and lose concentration. So you're taking multiple breaks during your day. Trading is very prone to workaholism. I think it's because you are working from home, and especially at the beginning, because it's fraught with stress. So you're trying to get past a certain point, and so it's very prone. You can be very prone to not taking time off and to workaholism. It's the perfect business, really, for workaholism. You can take it anywhere and do it anywhere effectively if you have a phone to a certain point. And then there are a lot of people don't like taking breaks because of FOMO, you know, the fear of missing out, which I think is kind of ridiculous, because there's 2 or 3 things that might happen, but 99.9% of things happen repeatedly. So if you think you missed out on this trend or that trend or whatever it was, there's a new one going to come along. You know,
Right.
It's not that you're missing out something that's going to change your life. You've just missed one trend, because if you're missing something, that is going to change your life, like we say, if you went and bought Bitcoin for $1 or whatever it was when it was years ago, but that's just pure luck. That's buying a lottery ticket that won. But if you should be trading at a level where even if you do miss a scattered trades, it's not going to change your life. Like, because if you'd won them, it wouldn't change your life. It's a performance business, obviously enough. And like all performance businesses, you'd have to perform when you're there, and you can't perform if you're too tired or you're burned out or you're, you know, whatever else. And it's the same with all things. I mean, you see pro athletes, for instance, they take breaks. They take big, long breaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you have businesses where they enforce breaks, like pilots or truck drivers, they all have to take breaks. They're all
Yep.
forced to, because their performance will fall below a minimum level of safety, and it's exactly the same in trading. And a lot of the time, I think you're better off in trading to work for short, focused periods of time and get something done than, not then to sort of sit in front of the computer and just pick at it. Even when you're doing your research, even when you're doing your back testing, all those kinds of things, it's better to do a short period of intense work, because it's not a job. It's not like if you're sitting in an office. I remember sitting in offices years ago as a clerk, and you're trying to use up the time before you go home. Where in trading, you're just not going to do that. I don't think it's and resting is not weakness. That's another thing I think with some of the more macho elements of trading might see, taking time off is a weakness. You have to be here every day, every minute, grind harder, so on and so forth. And that doesn't apply in the same way to trading. You have to absolutely work hard, but it's a performance business, which means if you have to perform, and the more trades you do, the more rest you need.
Yep. Totally.
And the last thing I'll say about it is you can't learn under pressure. So what ends up happening to a lot of people is that they're either putting themselves under pressure, their system isn't working, something like that's happening to them, and then they get into tunnel vision. And then you can't learn anything in tunnel vision because you're basically in fight or flight, and you're under stress, and you can't do anything with that. So you're better off to take a break, because if you've lost, and as well, a lot of the time when that happens, the stress happens, it's after, a big event of some type. And there's only two big events really in trading. One is you have somehow lost a load of money, which happens to everyone, but you're stressed after it, and you're in pain, and then you're vulnerable. It's like football teams after they score a goal. They're supposed to be at their most vulnerable. I think, I don't know about football, but you're quite vulnerable. So that's one, and the other one is when you win a load of money, and then it changes your relationship with the. When winning a load of money is great, but it really changes your relationship with the market, especially when you're new. The first time out. So when you're getting, like you have a $10,000 day or something like that, which is a nice day, which is a great day when you were starting off. I had one of those in the first few weeks that I started trading ever, and it changes your relationship with it, and then you want to trade more because you think you've found the Medias, I can't pronounce it. You've found the great touch of being able to make money easily in trading, and you lose your fear of it.
Yeah.
So you're more liable. You're more liable to do something stupid. So just take the time off, relax. It's a business. You're trying to do this business to be free, so be free, I think.
Well, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So, they're all really good points. All really good points. And I pretty much agree with all of them. It is a performance activity, and your ability to perform at the levels required, you burn through that quicker than you think. Even if you're a young, fit person, right, you'd be surprised at actually how many you burn out. And I've worked with lots of semi-pro athletes or just exceptionally fit guys and girls and stuff, and they think, oh yeah, I'll be fine to sit there all day and stuff and I'm just clicking a mouse, but actually even they realize that there's more to it that's going on and stuff. And you're absolutely right, we normally really can perform for about 45 minutes, okay, and then after that your performance starts to degrade, and you need to refuel, all right, in every sense to be able to just to keep that up. And so you need to take breaks. And if there you go, one of the things I talk about in terms of on a kind of a workshop I kind of do on managing trader performance, the underpinning theme to it all is that prevention is better than cure. You'll hear me talking about this all the time. Prevention is better than cure. It is better for you to take a break before you're forced to take a break. You can be basically in control, you can manage it. And I kind of talk to traders who I work with one-to-one is about they should have every 6 weeks there should be at least one long weekend booked in away, completely away from trading, and every quarter there should probably be at least a week booked away and stuff. Okay, just away from it. Maybe you go away on holiday, maybe do nothing, but actually just having that basically that kind of break, because you're in control of it, you're managing it. All right, it's effectively something that you can manage. As I said, it's almost like preventative measures to take breaks before you need to, because there's nothing worse. We'll have both done it. Everybody does. You even like you just had a couple of nights not great sleep. The market looks crappy, and you end up taking crappy trades, and that I shouldn't have done that. It kind of adds to the stick to beat yourself with that. You've taken crappy trades when you shouldn't have traded, and in fact, actually, that you should take a break and stuff. So you are here to perform. You're not here to just sit up like a robot and turn up in front and basically do your 8 hours in front of the computer. That's not really going to take you places. At the very, very start, you might have to do that to learn, but when you're actually executing and performing as a trader, that just doesn't really work. It just doesn't help you at all. Trust me, I've been there from 7 in the morning till 10 at night and stuff, and working for funds, etc. And that's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy. Just it'll take its toll on you and stuff, and that's why you have to manage that accordingly, because you're working for yourself. There is you probably don't have a team around you who will actually help you manage it. All has to sit on your shoulders. And as you mentioned yourself, when you're feeling you're below par, you're tired, okay, you're burnt out, or that stress sits even heavier on your shoulder, and it'll skew the way you look at markets. You said it yourself in terms of you're in a survival mode, and then basically your trade choices tend to be crappy, your management, your trades tend to be crappy. It's not a good place to be, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, I was just thinking there with that 40 minutes. What I do sometimes when I'm starting to lose myself a little bit with that is I have the same tune I listen to, Stabat Perlagesi Stabat Mater, and it's 42 minutes long, the one I listen to. So I tend to listen to that, and I know that from the beginning to that is 42 minutes.
Interesting.
And that actually helps me. So if I can't concentrate, for example, I will put that on, and I know that I have to concentrate while that music is playing. And then when that music is playing is over, then I can stop concentrating and take a little break, as long as I'm not a trader and not doing something else. And one of the things that taught me first about that is because I used to do a lot of competitive shooting at one point, and your shots are made before you pull the trigger, basically. And there are times when you're just not, when you can get really tired from shooting. Literally, especially if you're shooting like a heavy caliber rifle, because it just punches you in the shoulder again and again and again, and the noise and the whatever else. And I was finding that sometimes you just couldn't concentrate, but it's all done, and it's the same with trading. It's all done before you pull the trigger. The other thing I was saying as well is that, from my own personal experience, is that trading, if you don't take a break, is hell on your social life. You don't have a social life. You don't take a break to have a social life. And that to a lot of young guys doesn't sound terrible. Like, oh yeah, just lock yourself away for a year and be 90% ahead of everybody else. Do it for 10 years. See how you feel.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So you have to take a break like that, because the problem is, because if you don't stay connected to society in some way, you are going to mentally suffer.
Mm-hmm.
It's this hermit job, hiding in your house with your only social contact to an adult can be the girl working at the till in Tesco's.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work. And I was talking about it. I was out last Saturday night, actually, and I was just talking about it. Compared to the person I was before I started trading, compared to the person I am now, it's night and day, really. You can easily burn out as well if you don't take time off. If you don't look after yourself, you just burn out, and that's not useful to anyone. Also, as a day trader, I just wrote down, I tend to take breaks around news events, because I don't like to trade news events. I mean, I've done it before and I will do it again, but it's not I don't have a great love for news events, so just do it.
Yeah.
No, there's no need for it. The first 15 minutes, I kind of don't tend to do like the 10 minutes before the market opens or the 15 minutes before the market opens. to the 15 minutes after, I don't really want to be there. I don't have an edge. I don't want to be entering a new trade. Unless the only reason I would do that is that if it's a really important area that I think has to take rough 4 p.m. my time, GMT time. That's when I'm usually finishing work. But even if I'm not finishing work at that time, that's when it's time to take a break, because the market slows down. Because the market takes breaks during the day.
Yeah.
But 8 o'clock in the morning, London open, busy. 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, not busy. 2:30 to 4, busy. 4 to 7, not busy. 7 to 9, busy. So it's, there's those type of things. And when there's chop, because if there's chop, there's no point in doing anything. You're only endangering yourself. So you just put in your line at the top of your chop, your line at the bottom of the chop, and just wait. There isn't nothing to do. Just go and look at social media or whatever the hell you like doing. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that social element is actually really key. It is actually really key. If you're an introvert, it might sound, we've talked about this before, it might sound fantastic to, as you say, just lock yourself away for a year, okay, and trade away. But you do that for 5-10 years, and it's not terribly healthy for you and stuff. We are still social animals. We need some sort of connectivity, and even right from the very, very start, I used to trade the morning FX session, and then about 10:30, just force myself to print off the charts of what I've traded, and then just go to the local coffee shop and stuff, and sit in there for 90 minutes and just basically have a cup of tea, read the paper, look at humans, and maybe chat to a couple of them, and do my reviews, and then get ready for the afternoon session and stuff, because it was forcing me to take a break. So I'd either go to the coffee shop or go to the gym, or go for a swim, go for a pool stuff, place where I was living at the time. But that just kind of almost like get into a routine, force myself a break, almost like force myself to be out the house from 10:30 till 12:30. So that I wasn't front of screens, because it's there all the time and stuff, and you've sat there from 7 in till, let's say, 10, and there's nothing gone on, and and you just get into that FOMO. Well, if I step away, the move will happen at 11 and what have you. But the reality is, even if the move does happen at 11, if you've been sat there for 4 hours without a break, the reality is you're probably done anyway. You're probably going to miss it, snoozing, or you make a mistake. So I used to basically sort of just block in 10:30 to 12:30, not only away from jobs, but actually out of the house, to basically just force myself to take a break, go out, get a bit of sunlight, go for a walk, go to the gym, go to the coffee shop, and do that. And all of that is about managing yourself. It comes back to that. We talked specifically about managing yourself. One of the early ones was about, it just becomes crucially important and stuff. And it's one of those things that I find people, they don't do it until it's too late. It's that thing that everyone sort of, rubs their chin at and nods and says, "Oh yeah, that sounds like great sage advice, Paul. Fabulous, absolutely sage advice." And then they ignore it, and then they get caught on the wrong side of it, because they've been tired, they're burnt out, they trade crappily, they have big blow ups. And then, you hear from them saying, "Yeah, do you know what, Paul? You were onto something there. Maybe I should have listened to that. Maybe I should have taken that into account." But it is, if you take nothing away from this podcast, I'd be saying just, prevention is better than cure. All right, prevention is better than cure, and in terms of taking a break, do it. Take a break before you have to, because invariably, if you're having to take a break, something's gone wrong, right? Something's, you're not in control of your business, and that is just not a smart way to operate at all, is it?
No. The other thing I thought about it is competition. One of the nice things, I think, is that one of the invigorating things in life is competition. And if you're on your own, there's no competition.
Yeah.
You can compete with yourself, but there's no competition in any way. And I think you miss an awful lot of motivation when you don't have somebody else to compete with.
It's a win. You have to fail.
Yeah, it just gets you up out of bed. And it's not, it's not this sort of big. I don't mean it in that sort of big macho way. You have to go out and listen to the cries of your enemies' laments or whatever. I don't know. It's I find with kids as well, it's harder because they soak up all the time and energy that you would normally used to. It's pre-daddyhood, I used to like I had a very set social life.
I
Uh,
know.
yeah, so it was, and even with just going to the gym, it was because I knew everybody there because I was there all the time. I was there 4 days a week or 5 days a week, so I knew everybody there. So I went in and I had a personal trainer, and and then consequently, you were just talking to people. It was a great idea. I think being male as well, and the majority of traders are male, and we are not great at connecting with other people, and it's not society just isn't set up for that. It's not that there's a it's more feature than a bug of the male thing, but we're supposed to work together in groups. We just don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And society has changed to a certain extent to make that much harder, I think. And over the last, the industrial revolution, blah blah blah. And then for myself, I find as well is that I'm an only child, so I have no brothers and sisters, so I don't have that family interaction.
Mm.
My wife is German, and her family are in Germany and Switzerland, so we don't have her family interaction. And I think that's a thing what I find with an awful lot of suburban men in Dublin, that they will tend to get their socialization out with their own family.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, and if you think about it, just to quickly, if you think about it, we met because we both ran traders socials in Dublin, meetup groups, and that's where we met because we had both having spent years working from home trading, realised the importance of getting out and about and stuff, and actually meeting. And that, that was the start of our, kind of friendship. Realising that actually, it's good, and that whenever I'm back in Dublin, we'll always meet up for a pint or a coffee and a chat and stuff and whatever. Because actually, it's good. I can only speak for men. That is good for men, but I think it's just generally good for humans anyway. I always talk about, it's important to find your tribe. It's important to actually know your tribe and actually to basically spend time with your tribe, and regardless of where you are on your, let's say, your trading journey. Everybody's on that kind of journey, right? And everybody's there. Everybody, there's very rarely unique issues that other traders haven't seen before in some form or another. There's nothing new under the sun in that sense. And so, that taking a break and actually spending a bit of time with these guys and girls is beneficial. Yeah, absolutely beneficial, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And if you're not proactive, nothing's ever going to happen. That's like I've, except for the guy who comes around trying to sell me a gas contract or whatever, collect for UNICEF or whatever it is. There's nothing's ever going to happen if you don't get out of the house and do it yourself. One of the things I was going to say, when you're trading, taking time off to get energy, you're part of your edge. Because it's you that's pressing the button, it's you that's works, it's you that's organizing the whole thing. So you're part of the edge. So if you're not, do you have an edge after 4 hours sleep? Really? It doesn't work like that. It's not, you're part of the edge. So you need to be there to be part of the edge. You need to be there present. And if you can't be present, then you don't have an edge.
Yeah.
So I think you need to take, especially at the beginning, I think taking a bit of time off to recommit to trading, because I found in my own thing, when I was going along, there was times I had to commit where I had to, things weren't going well, and you're in your learning phase, and you're in that big valley of death between where you've learned the basics and you become consistent. And I had to take time off every once in a while. Things would go wrong. You'd lose a load of money, and then but part of the process of part of the process of that was to recommit, to sit there and go, I really actually genuinely want to do this. And then you come out the other side and you be committed again to start off again. Because there are different things. I think there are different things with commitment and trading, because you have to commit to a style. You have to commit to a time frame.
Yeah.
Because all these guys go in and they're like, oh, I want to do it with swing trading, I want to do it with day trading. That's fine when you can do one of them properly. But you have to commit to one thing at a time and then conquer that one thing and then move on to the next thing. And that's how it works. Then I think there's a thing, I couldn't find a name for it, so I'm going to call it soft failing. When it's basically when you're losing very slowly. You're basically and
death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, so just take a bit of time off, go back and learn it. And when I was learning, what I did when I was learning is that I used to take out $200, right? That was the amount I had money in my head. And then I would simulate trade, do all that work, get ready, trade with the $200. And then the $200, then I would lose that $200. Eventually, like it could take 2 weeks to lose $200 or whatever it was, like, it could take 2 minutes. But that was my cutoff point, that I had to go back to the simulator, or I had to take a break, because I also knew I had to take a break because I had just another punch. I was after getting punched in the.
Yeah.
So I had to defined. Yeah, sorry, you wanted to.
That's not a bad way to do it, not a bad way to look at it and stuff. And actually, I think sometimes maybe even having that kind of, if you're risking, I don't know, 500 quid on a trade, actually having that physical 500 quid on your desk is perhaps a reminder that every time you trade crappily because you burn out, you are literally spaffing that 500 quid at the wall. It's a little physical sort of kind of anchor that sort of makes you realize that I'm actually supposed to be doing this right. I'm supposed to be doing the proper trade and what have you. So I know for myself, and it kind of links into the bigger picture. A lot of that for me was about understanding and managing ebb and flow, and I realized that I've had to change the way I do that. My natural inclination was, when you're in flow, when everything's going well, those four M's are all in alignment. It's your market environment, your methods working, your money management's great, you're in a great space. Okay, you're in flow. Everything is working really, really well for you. You're in a purple patch. You can describe it, define it how you want. Your natural kind of inclination is everything's going great. Or do you know what? I can rest up. I can take it easy because everything's going fantastic. And then when you get to the other side of it, when you're in the ebb, all right, when things aren't going well, your natural inclination is, right, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to double down on my time and my effort. I'm going to, this is a challenge. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to break this, etc. And hammer into it. Okay. And that's kind of one way or another, I've kind of been conditioned to act like that. And actually part of it is about realizing that I needed to completely unlearn that and change that. Namely, when I am in a state of flow, that is the time to be hammering the metal. That is the time to actually be working a bit longer, working a bit harder, basically pushing it a bit further, being a bit more intense, actually just really making the most of it. And now on the flip side, when you're in the ebb, when you can't find a winning trade to save your life, that is the time to take a break. That actually is the time to stop and step away from it. Okay, take a break. It might be physical break, it might be time break, whatever. Get away from it, okay, and actually take a break and reset and recharge, and then drift your way back into it. Okay, don't just jump straight back in, both feet, but actually just ease yourself back into it. And that has been, I'm not always perfect on it, all right, but that has been a consistent kind of learning message that I've had to repeat and unlearn and work, and just basically realize there is a season for everything. There is a time to push it hard, okay, and then there is a time to basically step away from it. When you're in the ebb, step away from it. Very often that kind of doubling down and said, "Oh, I'm going to work hard." I'm going to, it actually just makes it longer. It just makes that period last longer. When in fact, actually, this is your time to take a break. This is your time to step away, take a break, get a bit of perspective, a bit of refreshment, a bit of recommitting, as you said, and then basically come back to it. So that's been one of my big personal learning elements.
One of the things I find with when things are going well, like with that taking a break when things are going well, which happens to everyone. I mean, I do it occasionally. Things have gone really, really well, and then you've hit your, maybe 3 times your normal day's income, and then you just go. One is, I think, is that you feel that the future is certain, and so you can sort of like take a little bit of you're mortgaging a little bit of your future. Basically, you feel it's safe enough to do that. It removes the stress. Because trading, when you're in that phase, sometimes you're feeling that trading is a stress, which is something I'll come back to in a second. Sometimes you just mistake a trend for skill, and And it's very hard as well when things are going wrong, because the thing is that you're in pain. So the solution to the pain is to succeed, and then you're going to stop any chance of succeeding by leaving the table.
Yeah.
And that's where the real problem is, I think, with it, why people won't stop when things are going badly, is they just don't. It's just dealing with pain. It's a strategy to try and keep themselves over pain. One of the things with stress is that taking a break can be a sign that you're under stress. Because sometimes when things are, because conversely, sometimes, like if you're going up to, like I'm going up to work today, and I'm going to trade 2 setups. I know exactly what those 2 setups are going to be. And I'm not stressed because I'm tired today. So I'm not going to do any adventure stuff. I'm not going to do anything outside of my 2 setups. So is your need, what I'm trying to say is that basically, is your need to take a break a symptom of you guessing? Or are you trading a setup, basically? So if you're in the market and you're doing something, you might have a core setup, or you might have, more commonly, an undefined setup. So you have, I buy it when it goes over the trend line type thing, or I buy double tops, and I trade double tops and double bottoms, but you need a whole setup with that. So if you're having to guess part of that and make stuff up on the fly, then you're going to need more breaks, because one thing is things are going to go wrong for you eventually, and the second thing is that you're having to guess, you're having to work harder. Guessing is work.
Yeah.
So I'm going up there today, and I can tell you that the one thing I'm going to trade today, the one big setup I'm going to trade today, is there's a thing called sine wave, which is an indicator. I'm going to wait for the 15-minute sine wave thing to give me a signal. I'm going to look at the stochastic at the bottom of to make sure it's at the bottom of the oversold, and then that's basically it. Also, there's a lot of news coming out today. I think I haven't checked. I think it's CPI today or stuff like that.
Well, the CPI and then FOMC this afternoon, so it's going to be an eventful afternoon.
Yeah. So like, taking those 2 things into account, like I might just take the day off, because I don't like those news events and that kind of stuff. Like, and go and do something else with my day. But in the meantime, that's my 2 things. That's what I'm going to do today, because it's a nice, simple, easy way of being. So I know exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm not guessing. There's no guessing. There's no guessing involved in it. Also, are you doing stupid things in the stock market to take time off? Because I know it happened to me once ever. This is many, many years ago, when I was in my first months of trading, and you went in, you were stressed. So I had a loss limit for the day, and I remember just putting on a trade, and I kind of knew in the back of my head that trade wouldn't work, and I just put that trade on so that I could get the bloody hell away from, have the permission to leave.
Interesting.
So that's what I've seen, and that's what I've seen some other traders do. And I wrote about it in my own blog last week. Like, I did one trade last week because I was just simply frustrated, because I don't normally feel any kind of real fear or anything when I'm trading, but this one day it just wasn't working for me, and I got frustrated, and I missed a few trades, and then I eventually put on a marginal. I put on a setup, but I put on a marginal setup that I hadn't fully faith in. And that was just a result. That's an emotional trade, and I really do believe that a lot of traders self-sabotage themselves to stop trading, because their rules say I have to stop after I lose $100. Yeah. I don't know, and so they'll try and lose that $100 quicker to finish up for the day. Sometimes the weather would be lovely and they want to go to the beach, so they can't go until they lose $100. Yeah, you can't miss a trend. That was one other thing I just wanted to say. It's very hard. You can't really miss a trend. It's very hard to miss a trend. People are always complaining about FOMO and stuff like that, but missing a trend, I don't know. Go on. Anyway, sorry, I'll let you.
No, actually, I'd confirm that. As well. I'm banging on at people all the time. Is that a good trend should leap off the chart at you. You don't need to force it. You don't need to fight it. Good trend leap off the chart. The challenge we have is they don't turn up as often as we would like, but when they do, it should leap off the chart. Yeah, and if you're, let's say, if you're a trend trader, well, then really your job should be to attack that trend as well as you can, and then once that trend ends, well, then basically, take a break, give a list, and that doesn't matter whether it's on a 1 minute chart or a daily chart and stuff. That's what you're looking to do. That's what you're looking to try and achieve. But if you don't have a good rule, if you don't have a solid plan that allows you to do that, well, then that's, as you say, that's when people start just becoming a little bit unstuck and a little bit guessing and stuff about how they're going to operate. One thing I would kind of, it's a final point for myself is what I try and tell people is that, people who will know me know I'm always hammering on about, managing risk and keeping records. If your record keeping starts going awry, or you just stop doing it, that in itself is a early warning signal that you are burnt out. Okay, you can't be bothered to do your paperwork at the end of your trading day. That is a sign that you are burnt out, and it's almost like an early warning sign before an event, in terms of you are going to probably screw the pooch in terms of your trading. So, if you are trading, if you're finding that you're just not, you're not keeping up your records, use that as an early warning sign that, it's time for me to take a little break. That might be a day, might be 2 days, might be a week, might be a month. I don't know. It depends upon your own circumstances and what's going on. But it is a very obvious early warning sign, and you'd be wise to heed it.
Well, I was going to say, I just the last thing I'd written down, I was just writing down a couple of notes there. That is that when you're returning to work, like when you do take a break and you return to work, you need to define a process to do that. So I have a defined process when I go back in. If I take a break, I have rules around that, like that I'm not able to trade like full size on day one after 2 weeks in the sun someplace. Another thing which just occurred to me is when I used to be in this trading room before, and it was a swing trading room and paid thing, and the guy who was running it was a very successful swing trader, and he would take breaks from the market, so he would be there looking, but he'd take breaks from actually trading. And people used to sit there and shout at him, basically going, well, it's all right for you, you've made your money.
The
thing is that the reason he made his money is that he would take appropriate breaks in the market. So he'd look at the market and he'd say, the market is not going anywhere, it's not doing anything, all I can do is take on these marginal trades, so I'm not doing it. And you had all these other people then that were sitting there who wanted to be traders, who wanted, but were underfunded and underskilled, and therefore we're going to force trades to try to become properly funded and increase their skill level. Well, when you're on your own, you're working on your own, it's very easy to go around in circles as well. That just occurred to me when you were saying there, because it's a very because you can get caught in your own sort of like feedback loop or something to a certain extent when you're trying to learn a process. And it was just because I was even finding it yesterday, because I was talking to the pro traders yesterday, and I was talking about just the process, what we setups and things like that. And I was, there was stuff that was really obvious that I was missing, but it's because I was in my own little feedback loop that I sit in my office and I do my job, and I only do my job in this way, and I don't think about these other things. And then I was talking to these guys and I was going, that makes so much sense, why was I never doing that before? That kind of thing, which was quite exciting. And I think that's a good thing. Mentoring as well, I just don't know why it occurred to me there when you were talking about it. It's very hard to learn this stuff on your own. And then if you look at any other profession, there's very few professions where people have an expectation that they can become professional and get to the top of a profession without some sort of mentoring thing. It's you're not going to come across a pro athlete. I mean, pro athlete, like a guy who runs, the 100 meters sprint or something like that. It's only bloody running. All he needs to do is run fast. But yet he has to have a trainer to make sure he runs fast. So and that's not a complex job, I mean, they're great. I'd love to be able to do it myself. I'm not sure I could run 100 meters except unless there was a lion chasing me or something. But it's only just running, and trading is a lot more complex. And you're expecting to do a lot of this stuff on your own, and that's why I think as well, where you come across an awful lot of the early, the great traders had, early influence and early stuff. And I was talking to a piano player like recently, and she hadn't started. The other piano players had started at 4, and generally they had, they'd have somebody in their family who was a musician. Like to give you an example, is Thomas Dunford, like, which is a lutist that I like to listen to, and his parents were both professional musicians, basically. So they come from that sort of thing. They're learning very early, like. But I think that it's very hard to learn all that kind of stuff on your own, for the fact you get caught in feedback loops and organizing yourself, and that's basically it.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good place for us to draw to a halt and stuff there. Lots of covered out. We could probably talk about it, but hopefully people have just got the main gist that, as I said, prevention is better than cure. Take your breaks before you need to. Plan them in, put them into your schedule, ring fence that time. Okay, maybe it's a couple of hours, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week, maybe it depends upon your circumstances, but you have to do it. Okay, you are not a robot. Okay, and the reality is, most people haven't had the experience of working in performance environments. So as Ian said, you're not used to having all those kind of mentors and stuff around you to basically help guide you and channel you. So, it's all, it's on your shoulders to do it. So basically, as I said, prevention is better than cure. Do it before you have to, and enjoy it, build it in. All right. Trading is great, but if you took up trading because you want a 100-hour working week, well, you can get it. But is that really winning? I would probably suggest no. But yeah, I'll take that on board. So next week, all right, TOGS 22 is all about what I'd wish I'd known when I started trading. So we shouldn't have any problems talking about that, Ian. Sure, we could talk all day about that and stuff. So there'll be plenty there for us to discuss. Listen, as always, we really appreciate people, subscribing and the likes. We appreciate people's comments and stuff and what have you, suggestions. Love it. If you've got any more, please feel free to put them in, here on the channel or just on the email and stuff. And we always take a look and we'll respond. And until next week, I hope you all have a great trading weekend. This afternoon is going to be an interesting afternoon. Any final words of wisdom, Ian, before we draw to a close?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right, well, there you go. All right, well, there you go. That'll do us. All right, listen, thanks very much, Ian, all right, for joining in. And listen, everyone, thanks very much for listening to us. Have a great trading week, and we'll speak to you soon. Trade well, everybody. Cheers.